Hello, and welcome back to Deb's True Crime Notebook. Today we're going to take a look at the murders of Lyric Cook and Elizabeth Collins. Today, December 5th, it's been 12 years since their bodies were discovered. It's been 12 years since the abduction and murders of two young girls from Evansdale, yet investigators continue to pursue the case. On July 13th, 2012, 8-year-old Elizabeth Collins and her 10-year-old cousin Lyric Cook Morrissey were taken. Their bodies were discovered 5 months later in rural Bremer County, approximately 25 miles from where they were last seen. Who was Lyric Cook Morrissey? She was 10 years old when she disappeared. Her family, Misty Cook Morrissey and Daniel Morrissey, her grandmother and aunts, helped raise her. She liked gymnastics and the Disney Channel. Lyric and two other cousins gave themselves the nickname the Bradford Bad Boys after a video by one of their favorite bands. Who was Elizabeth Lizzie Collins? She was 8 years old when she disappeared. Her parents were Heather and Drew Collins, and she had 3 siblings. She was a very social child. Elizabeth's third-grade teacher, Angel Munson, said in 2017, she was always the last one to finish her lunch because she was always talking. Elizabeth loved to play hockey. What happened to Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook Morrissey? On Friday, July 13th, 2012, Elizabeth and Lyric were riding their bikes at Myers Lake in Evansdale. They lived in a small town with around 4,500 residents. When they went missing, the only belongings that were found around the trail were bicycles, a purse, and a cell phone, leaving no sign of the girls. In the video, the girls are riding away from the lake where their bikes were later found. Black Hawk County Chief Deputy Rick Aben told ABC News, "It looked kind of grainy. They just zoomed by the camera, and it's very hard to really make much out of the video." He added, "The girls were less than a block from their house when this camera captured them riding by. It's important to note they were riding away from Myers Lake, and the footage was taken just after noon on July 13th. It runs in accordance with the police timeline of the case." After the family reported them missing, thousands joined in the search. Hunters eventually found their bodies December 5th, 2012, at the Seven Bridges Wildlife Area, about 25 miles from north of Evansdale. Investigators determined they were murdered. The killings garnered national attention and left a lasting impact on the community. No suspects have ever been publicly identified, but police have looked into the high-profile cases involving children, including Michael Klunder, who kidnapped 2 girls in Dayton in 2013. One of them escaped, and the other Klunder killed. He also killed himself later. But investigators determined he was not a suspect in the Evansdale case. Many have tried to connect Richard Allen, the convicted abductor and murderer of Libby and Abby in Delphi, Indiana, to this case of Lyric and Elizabeth. But so far, no connection has ever been found. Although no suspects have been identified, the case remains active, as confirmed by Special Agent Scott Reger, who, from the Iowa Department of Criminal Investigations, said it remains a priority for ongoing investigation. Investigators' efforts to unlock information eventually led them to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in Alexandria, Virginia, for advice. They believe the killer or killers were familiar with the Myers Lake and Seven Bridges Wildlife Area and with the children. How are Iowa agents investigating the case? Reger has been on the case since 2012 and became the lead investigator agent in 2017. Since taking over, he has received 547 tips, with 270 of those coming in since 2022, a decade after the girls were killed. Since the case began, more than 2,000 tips have been submitted to the DCI. After the cousins' deaths, the city of Evansdale turned a small island at Myers Lake into Angels Park Memorial Island. It's a memorial not only to the girls, but also to Evelyn Miller, Danisha Hill, a 13-year-old Waterloo girl abducted from 2006 and found murdered in Illinois, and Lindsay Nichols, 22, murdered in March of 2012 in Jessup by her boyfriend. For years, law enforcement has been looking for a male individual who was paddleboarding on the lake that day. Not because he's a suspect, but because he was at the lake in that location on that day and could have information that could lead to the suspects, the murderers and abductors of Lyric and Elizabeth. Now, this is not the actual picture of the paddleboarder, but this picture had me wondering how law enforcement knew there was a paddleboarder on the lake that day. And it also made me wonder if Google Earth possesses a picture of that specific paddleboarder. Hopefully we'll find that person in the near future, and they might have some information that could lead to answers for Lyric and Elizabeth. If you happen to be that paddleboarder, or you know who he is, or you have any information regarding the abduction and murders of Lyric and Elizabeth, please contact Cedar Valley Crime Stoppers. They're offering a substantial reward of $100,000 for any information that leads to the arrest of those responsible for the deaths of Elizabeth and Lyric. You can submit anonymous tips by calling 815-300-8477. Again, that's 815-300-8477. The state of Iowa is committed to seeing this case resolved, Special Agent Reger stated. That is our goal, to solve it. This is a map of the route that Lyric and Elizabeth took on their bicycles that day. They did pass a security camera, and were caught in the distance riding on this route. So if you have any knowledge or saw them that day, please report it to authorities. So again, if you have any information at all regarding the abduction and murders of Elizabeth Collins and Lyric Cook, please contact Cedar Valley Crime Stoppers. Again, they are offering a $100,000 reward for any information that leads to the arrest of those responsible for the deaths of Elizabeth and Lyric. You can submit an anonymous tip by calling 815-300-8477. That's 815-300-8477. Thanks once again for watching Deb's True Crime Notebook. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for all notifications, share this in your group and with some friends, and let's see if we can shed some light on this case and help out where we can. Please leave us a comment. We love to hear from you, and we'll be anxious to see what you have to say. If you have any information, once again, please contact authorities in Evansdale, Iowa.